Hey y'all, it's the Wow Superheroes After Show on Women's Wrestling Talk. We have more tag team championship action and we learn more about our superheroes, the ones that fight and the ones that tend to stay silent. And we get a brawl and a fight that actually didn't happen and yet another superhero debut. Stay with us if you want to hear the rest of what went down on Wow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hey, you know what time it is. It is Monday, which means it is time for the Wow Superheroes After Show on Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, host and writer for this fabulous platform, Women's Wrestling Talk, and color commentator featured on the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, and soon to be Spartan Wrestling in Gaston, Alabama. But of course, I am not alone. I have my squad with me that's always with me to break down all the nitty and the gritty of the women of wrestling. First, I have Katrina from NCAT We Trust, who is also a writer for Women's Wrestling Talk and just an all around super mom, holding down the fort in all aspects of life. Katrina, how are you?
I am well, a little tired. It's been a bit of a busy weekend, but
Mhm.
otherwise I am happy to be here. It was a super awesome episode and the debut I happen to know. And so it's like, oh, I didn't even know she was going to be on here. And so that was a nice little surprise for me.
Oh, that's cool. I can't wait to get into it. And of course, last but certainly not least, we have the interviewer extraordinaire, the correspondent, the Emmy nominated producer, and all the time just slaying with her beauty, Emily May Heller. How are you, Emily?
I'm good. I'm good. I hope everyone's doing well. I know we have an exciting WoW episode to break down, so I'm ready to do it and yeah, talk through it. So everyone in the chat, I want to hear all about what you thought about all these matches.
Yeah, this was a pretty chill weekend in terms of wrestling in comparison to the past few weeks we've had where there's been event after
A
event
million
after event.
shows.
Yeah,
For
this
sure.
weekend was relatively chill for the most part. So WoW was able to sort of stand on its own this weekend. So that was pretty cool. And of course, if you are watching along with us on all of our live platforms, thank you, first of all, for watching us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. And if there was any part of this episode of WoW that you really enjoyed or particularly liked, or if you just want to come in and just say hi, sorry. Go off in the comments and just tell us how you felt about everything. We can't wait to hear it. So, starting with Emily, how did you feel as a whole about this episode of WoW?
Well, I love this episode because I got a little insight ahead of this episode with, Miami Sweet Heat. I had a little exclusive, so I kind of got a little taste of where their mindset was, a little temperature of what was going to potentially happen, what they thought about the tag team division at WoW. So I was glad to kind of see this main event, and obviously we had some exciting debuts and we saw some returns of some kind of new generation of talent at WoW. So I thought this was a pretty a pretty good episode. I feel like it was a little bit more tame than I think the last few weeks with some of the other more wild matches we had. But I
Mm-hmm.
think they were telling a lot of cool stories that I think are going to lead to some bigger things here.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. What about you, Kat?
Definitely a solid episode. Like, I still have my thoughts about the Tonga twins not getting those belts. However, with that being said, I do like that we are getting different tag teams, even having the option to go against Miami Sweet Heat. Again, having seen somebody I literally was working with like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh, I didn't know you were gonna like again, that was really kind of awesome just to like, oh, I didn't even know you were doing this. It just popped up on the same day. And I was like, that was nice. And so I do think it was a solid episode. And I also agree that this is definitely setting up for some new stuff going forward.
Yes, absolutely. It was very cool in the idea that there were, of course, new faces and storylines like you two, have both previously mentioned. So, of course, we are here to get into it. And in the comments, we have Cool Gamer saying hello, hello, and Black Fist 86 saying what's good. Hey. So, yeah, we are about to get into this episode. So, weirdly enough, something on commentary that kept taking place was the fact that they kept goading AJ on as sort of like this coach and sort of like this person who kind of knows a whole lot about different things and just wanting to sort of get her in on a lot of the action. And a part of me, was live tweeting and I was just like, you know what, AJ Mendez for Wild World Champion. Come out of retirement just once, just one time. Just give us something.
They keep plugging this. They kept plugging this on this episode on commentary and in previous episodes where she keeps saying, oh, no, I don't want to, like, I'll go to the gym, but I'm not going to get back. It's kind of like they're dangling a carrot in front of us, Steph. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel like they've been teasing a lot of this lately.
Yeah, they really have, and it's really getting on my nerves because I'm just like, we haven't seen AJ wrestle in years. And if she were to ever come back, I would be absolutely thrilled. But I also just, as a human being, I don't want her to like put herself in danger, of course. But at the same time, I'm just like, look, if AJ comes back, I will love it. The internet will love it. We'll all love it and we'll be living. But you can never say never in wrestling because you're never ever truly retired. So we're just going to keep, a lookout for that. So yeah, AJ Mendez, we know you got on your executive producer hat and your commentary hat and you wear both of them well, but don't be afraid to put that wrestling hat back on either. So, hey, you never know. But either way, moving forward with the rest of the show, our first match was BK Rhythm versus the debuting Ariel Sky. Now, Ariel Sky is new to me, but they did talk a little bit about her background. And it's a lot of, she's basically experienced in the world of gymnastics and cheerleading, and she's a part of an all-star team. And this definitely reminded me of my days as like a hip-hop dancer, but then my teacher was also a cheerleading coach. And we would also compete, in different competitions that they would have in Florida, kind of like the kinds you would see on ESPN on any random weekend. Like, that's kind of what her vibe reminded me of. Like, she really was the all-star athlete that you would see doing all types of tricks and stuff. And I was just like, wow, like, she really does look legit.
Yeah, I mean, she's a former junior Olympic gymnast, I believe, if I'm getting that title right. So she definitely has this amazing background.
Yeah, she looks like it too. Like her, even from her entrance, like she came in doing a lot of her gymnastics moves and stuff like that, like flips and cartwheels and such. So I was just like, okay, Miss Ma'am is serious up in here. And I liked the vibe that she was giving. And of course, BK Rhythm is a little bit different here. Seeing her and her action over the past few weeks, she has been, on an upward trajectory. But when you have a debuting person, you just never know what you're going to get from this person and how the OG is going to be able to adapt to them and their style, seeing as they've never fought them before. So you never know what you're going to get here. But of course, BK Rhythm had to start off with a rap, and she basically dissed her by saying that, I balance on the bars, like her rapping bars and stuff like that, and said that this was just going to be, this is her time and all of that. So BK, was really doing the bars and stuff. And AJ was like, you don't even know her. How you gonna diss her like that? And I was like, oh, wow. And then AJ was really excited about the idea that Ariel Sky is from New Jersey. So, shout out to New Jersey. I've never been there, but it's in close proximity to New York. So maybe one day, I'll visit there. So shout out to New Jersey and any of the greatness that they've given the world and stuff like that. So this match was fire. I actually liked it because, of course, you had the contrasting styles. You had Ariel Sky, of course, using a lot of her gymnastics background to sort of maneuver her way out of BK Rhythm's moves, which are more so ground and pound and also, kind of like submission based as well. Like, there was this one impressive part where Miss Ariel did a split out of a certain move that BK was trying to like lock her in. And I was like, oh, okay, I see I see what we've got here. But every time she tried to take to the air, BK was always trying to like tear her down. Like there was one point where she tried to hit an aerial maneuver from the top rope, but then BK actually knocked her down by hitting her in her legs, which was very smart. Which is a very smart strategy to have against someone like that. But Ariel Sky was definitely here for the challenge, and she wound up defeating BK Rhythm with a backflip moonsault. And it was just really, beautiful the way that she did it. And after she won the match, she had an interview with David McLane. Shout out to D-Mac. And he asked her, how did she feel after winning her debut match? And she had tears in her eyes and said that a lot of the time people just sort of underestimated her because she's, this pretty girl, and that's all she would ever, offer the world. But now she's here at WoW, and she's here to prove that she is more than just a pretty face. And I thought that was nice. And I was just like, okay, I see a lot of who you are now. So Ariel Sky came out with a win.
Yeah. I really loved this debut match, I think, and I loved how we got some new talent as a part of WoW. I think I loved how you broke it down, Stephanie, is that Ariel tried to use that gymnastic background, tried to like bring all of that high flying, those fast flips, those cartwheels, things like that to try to like get BK Rhythm to like throw off her beat, right? Throw off her rhythm. So again, they definitely contrasting styles. You have someone that's coming from a different type of sports background, trying to learn how to train and be a wrestler and do these moves. But I love how it was very gymnastic centric, and she really like kind of dove into that and really leaned into it, and I loved it. And I think this was a great showcase for her as her debut match. I was excited to see her. And again, BK Rhythm has had lots of matches at WoW, so she's kind of seen these new talents come through, and she had kind of an interesting reaction and really didn't flinch. She's like, all right, here's another one, let's go for it. Always ready with her rap. But I really liked it. This was a really great one to watch, and it was a good way to kind of kick off the show. And that interview, we kind of got to hear a little bit more about her, and it is emotional. So I think it is emotional to have that big win and have this big moment. So I'm glad she had it.
Me too. Kat, how are you feeling about Miss Ariel Sky and her performance here?
Well, she's somebody I actually know in person, and so I didn't know that she was going to be on WoW until I saw her retweet out of her other account, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even cross my mind that it was her. She has wrestled at Battle Club, so if you ever want to like, yes, because you said about her, she does live in Jersey, but she has wrestled at Battle Club. There was a whole thing with her and Cosmic a few weeks ago, and I was at the CCW show where she showcased very much of that gymnastic style. And while she didn't particularly win that match, the audience was really into her again, showcasing, what she can do. And while she does do fitness modeling, and it's something I spoke to her about, she can wrestle. And I told her, it's like, for somebody, who hasn't been doing it as long as some maybe other people, I think you're fantastic. And so it was really nice for her. One, everybody knows how I feel about BK Rhythm's raps. Just because I'm not a fan of, her always having a rap, and then it's like, sis, you can't do all this and lose. That defeats the whole purpose of having a rap, and then you lose your match. And so, but I did appreciate in regards to her that she was just like, okay, well, next person. And she didn't literally she kind of let it roll off of her. But I think this was a really good win for Ariel. Even though I know her as Nikki. Just it was nice to see that. And it's a little different, even like she's a little different when she's not wrestling, I guess, in a while. And so that was also nice for me to kind of see, like, oh, okay, but she still very much showed off the things that she knows how to do. So I thought it was a really good debut. I was really happy for her when I realized that she was debuting. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what else that she's going to do in WoW. Like, I feel like she's already on a good trajectory with that first win.
Yeah, got that first win. That's all it takes, right? Gotta get that win. You have that momentum. And you never know where that momentum takes you. And I think with her background, her gymnastic background, I think there's some other WoW superheroes she might be pretty easily paired with if they wanted to create another tag team or, have some alliances. I think if that's the route she wants to go. Just saying, I think there's some similar styles happening.
Yeah, all of that is really interesting. Well, actually, I'll actually speak to that point in a minute, Emily. But to Katrina's point,
Okay.
I am so happy, number one, that you knew her, and number two, that she actually fought Cosmic, who I believe is she still Battle Club's Icons
She is.
champion? Okay, yeah. Cosmic is amazing, and I'm so happy to actually have met them and actually have seen Battle Club Pro stuff and work with them and stuff like that. Like, they excite me so much, and they have a show this weekend, Do the Fight Thing. So that is their Juneteenth show. So please, if you are in the New York area, New Jersey area, please check that out. Because they're amazing and they have great wrestling. It's great. But yeah, like, I am so happy that Ariel Sky was able to have that moment, and work that way up, to her being on television. That is so amazing. And you just never know where people are going. Kind of like how Kat was saying how she didn't put it together until she saw it on social media. Like, you never know what direction these wrestlers are going until you see them, and you're just like, oh snap, I know them. Like, it's so cool when you watch their evolution and then boom, they pop out and then they be on TV. So kudos to Ariel Sky. Like, she did an amazing job, and the fact that she hasn't been wrestling that long, she really did a fantastic job, and I'm really proud of her. But to Emily's point, I did retweet, not retweet. I did tweet about, her and her gymnastics background. I was just like, bro, what if her and Randi Rah Rah were like a team?
That's what I was saying. In my head, I was watching and I was like, I think that's an interesting combination there.
Like, it really is. And then what's so funny is later on in the show, backstage when Randi and Coach Campanelli were talking, they were talking about possibly recruiting other people to be a part of their team. And she would be, a number one recruit for them. Like, so I'm thinking, that would be an easy, decision to make on their, part, but you just never know exactly who they've been watching all this time. But either way, Ariel Sky is on a really, like, she deserves to be on a really big high, from her victory and defeating BK Rhythm, who so, violently dissed her with her words and then tried to take her down. But ultimately, she rose up to the occasion. And then she actually hit another move that I absolutely love, which was the Eat Defeat, which reminds me so much of Mia Yim. Like, I was just like, oh my God, she did that. So I was just really happy to see, Ariel just doing her thing. I can't wait to see more of her. So shout out to Ariel Sky winning that match against BK Rhythm. So that was cool. So moving forward with the rest of the show, before we just continue to just shower on her, like, there's more stuff that happened, I promise. We had a match, but not really a match to take place between Americana and Fury of the Heavy Metal Sisters. Now, they did talk about how the Heavy Metal Sisters attacked Jessie Jones, who is, of course, Americana's friend. And Americana, basically said that she wanted to get, revenge on Jessie Jones's behalf. So this is where this match, comes from. The Heavy Metal Sisters came out there and made their entrance. Excuse me, they came out there and made their entrance and stuff. But then just as soon as Americana, comes out there, she ran out there, slid under the ring, and started beating up on Fury almost immediately. Like, this was a brawl. Like, this was not a fight. This was a brawl.
It was a beatdown. She got beat down.
Totally a beatdown. Like, they had to ring the bell multiple times in order to get them to break it up. And then to make matters worse, you had the other two members of the Heavy Metal Sisters, Mesmeriah and Razor, our sis, go in there to try to, like, help her and basically gang up on her and stuff. But just when it looked like all hope was lost and Americana was fighting by herself, the two women who are set to face Miami Sweet Heat for the tag team title, Stephy Slays and Jennifer Florez, came out to her defense and basically fought off the Heavy Metal Sisters as they backed off, which is funny because it's like y'all had all that energy to gang up on Americana, but then the moment it gets even, y'all want to run away. But, whatever. So after that point, Americana got the microphone and said that she wanted to get revenge on them, not only for injuring Jessie Jones, but also for tearing up her son's iPad. And I was just like, what? Seriously? How did they do that? Number one. And number two, why didn't we see it? And then she was just like, look, I just want to get revenge on you guys because y'all are just careless, you're mean, and all of this, and you hurt my friend, and this isn't over. So yeah, I'm more than sure there's going to be a rematch considering this match didn't happen. There's going to be, a restarted actual sanctioned match between the two of them or whoever, or the three of them or whatever, be a 6-woman tag or something. But either way, this match wound up not happening. But this was a crazy brawl. So Katrina, how did you feel about the state of affairs in this feud?
So there's a few things, because I personally, I don't do jumping. I don't like bullying. And so I thought this could have really been if the Heavy Metal Sisters, and I love Razor, that's my girlie. But in this regard, I don't particularly like bullying type tactics. And I feel like if they didn't jump in, I think Americana really would have let everything she was filling out. I did kind of have to side eye that she waited that long, because if you touch my kids' things, like as we was kind of speaking about this earlier about how I am as a mom, and like I'm a nice person, but mom mode is a very different mode to be in.
Don't mess with the mamas.
And it becomes a whole different level of crazy when it comes to my kids. So like, how hard you have to break an iPad to destroy somebody's iPad. Like, it's like, what was you doing? Was you like using a hammer? Did you fling it? Like, what happened for that? But how did they even get to the iPad? And so as a mom, I was like, now Americana, I feel like this is a time you probably should have been more aware of what was happening, especially like when the whole thing a few weeks ago with her and Jessie, and Sun kept popping up, and then it was like interfering with matches, and she seemed more concerned then. Then it's like, why do you wait so this much time ago if you touch my son's things? See, I will burn everything down. So I just like, I'm not gonna even wait to the match to not gonna beat up everybody because I feel away. Like, we have to be like one of those situations where this made it to the ring because I was beating you up on the way to the ring. Like, I didn't bother you until we got this match in the ring. We're not waiting. And so that, I was like, I don't know, sis, because I don't know if I've been this nice about waiting until a match after messing with my kids or my kids' things. I do agree with, I guess, being a good friend. I guess it's the least she can do, considering she was kind of annoying me a little bit with her not being as invested in the matches as she could have been when she was teaming up with Jessie. I felt sometimes I'm like, sis, I get it. I am a mom too, so I totally understand it. But this is business. Do your job. And so I felt like, okay, at least you tried to make up a little bit for that. But then the Sun thing, and I'm just like, all right, like you just let them do all types of stuff, and you didn't say nothing. Like, to me is insane. But it was also interesting because even with Steffi coming out and I'm about to call her real name. Excuse me, guys. I was about to call her actual wrestling name. But I feel like, if anything, knowing that they had that match later, that should have been a perfect opportunity to, if they really wanted to mess with them, make them tired. They have a match later. And I was a little surprised they didn't think of any of that while they was jumping Americana when they came in. I was like, oh, I know you guys have a title match on the line later, and you're really being bully type, then kind of handle that as well instead of running. And that surprised me, because I thought, if anything, wouldn't it be smart to make them a little bit not their best by the time they have that tag match, so they won't be as sharp as they need to be, or as like on it as it needs to be? And they just ran, and I was like, I don't know, that's an odd thing. I feel like, you kind of think of all the possibilities here. I probably would have just kind of made it a little bit harder for them later on if I was going to do all of that. They jumped Americana, so you would think they would kind of have that same type of mentality go, but I don't know. But otherwise, I do see where definitely, I just totally rambled a lot, my bad. But I do think, because the way that ended, we're definitely going to get some more between them and Americana.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Katrina, I felt like I was surprised by this big brawl, that it just like the it was kind of like a hot start match. Like, we didn't really know who was going to come out or what was going to happen. And I did, to your point about like Steffi Slays and Gen Z kind of coming out, like, it was interesting that they did that when they had a title match later. Like, it should have been, the focus should have been the title match, the main event. And the fact that, and so I think they're building some other conflicts and some other, maybe, some other tag team matches later, potentially, or some alliances, some, I know we kind of dove deeper into like who everyone is and stuff like that. But I just felt like it was interesting that they went out there and caused a little bit of trouble. And we'll see kind of where it goes from there. But I mean, we'll talk about the main event in a bit, but I felt like there was an opportunity there to obviously give them a handicap, I guess, going into that match, taking advantage of that. Because there's other teams that might want a shot, that are angry, right? That are frustrated that they don't have a title shot yet, or they lost a title shot. And that could have been a chance to take them out and potentially take that spot. So.
Yeah, it was a lot of loaded stuff happening, like between Americana being angry and wanting to avenge her son and wanting to avenge her friend, and then the added layer of this team of Generation Texas wanting to come out and defend Americana, knowing that they have the match and stuff. It was just a lot going on, and I was actually surprised to see them come out there knowing that, they really could have been focused on what's really supposed to be happening with them. But I mean, I guess, they were just doing the honorable thing and just trying to help Americana and just being nice. Because really, outside of Jessie Jones, really, like, who else is really aligned with Americana like that? We haven't really seen anybody else be aligned with her in that way. So I guess, they were just trying to do the honorable thing and just help her to even up the odds. But either way, we'll get more into it later on whether or not they were able to lock in and really focus for those tag team titles. But either way, it was a really interesting, turn of events how that happened. And of course, who's to say, maybe next week or in the next few weeks, Americana might get her lick back. But I'm like Katrina, like I really would have gotten my lick back a whole lot quicker, and it wouldn't have been a sanctioned fight. Like that would have been like a we're finna fight right now outside in the street in a parking lot kind of thing. So yeah, it was Americana.
I'm surprised it wasn't a little more like gritty, like you said, Steph. Like, they all got jumped, so it should be outside. We did get a little like we got the schoolyard fight, right? So we got a little of that a few weeks ago. Maybe we're leading into some other brawl that's maybe around the not in the ring. That'd be interesting.
I keep telling them they need to do a wild steel cage match. Do a steel cage. Spray painted pink. Spray painted purple.
Pink or purple, something.
A purple steel cage. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do it now.
But pink, that means it's going to be Penelope Pink there.
I mean, maybe, but she doesn't have a monopoly on the color pink. So, I mean, let's be real.
I'm just saying, the Fab Four is going to want to get in on that.
That may be her last name, and that may be the Fab Four's color, but they do not have a monopoly on that color. So, hey, whatever color they choose to use is fine. But either way, that's what happened. That match was a no match. There was no result because it didn't happen. But hopefully later on down the line, Americana will get her lick back against the Heavy Metal Sisters. But before we go into the rest of the show, we do have other shows here at Women's Wrestling Talk that we do want you to, pay attention to and give your time to and just love. So we're going to take a break and tell you guys about what we've got going on.
Hey peeps, TK Trinidad here, boss lady of Women's Wrestling Talk. And I want to say thank you so much for watching because you've got millions of options. Plus, you don't have to worry about sharing your password to check us out. But while you're here, hopefully we have so many more shows to watch, like Turnbuckle Glam, Raw Post-Show, WOW Post-Show, AEW Dynamite Post-Show, Women's Wrestling Army Post-Show, NXT Post-Show, Impact Wrestling Post-Show, AEW Rampage and SmackDown Live Post-Show, On the Scroll, ROH Post-Show, WWT Live, plus all of our interviews with the hottest women's wrestlers in the game. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our website at www.talkpod.com and follow us on all social media platforms at www.talkpod, and make sure to spread the word. That means send this to the group chat. Yes, even the person with the green bubble. Thanks again so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
And of course, always giving a forever shout out to our fearless leader, our CEO, TK Trinidad, for holding down the fort and being fabulous. And of course, for all the other women hosting amazing shows and also popping in on other people's shows and having fun on throughout the week when it comes to our post shows and everything that we've got going on, on our website as well. Just continue to support the movement. Support women's wrestling talk and everything that we have going on. Now, of course, moving on with the rest of this after show for WoW and the Women of Wrestling, we had a little bit of a visit from Holiday, which was very interesting. Um, Holiday isn't somebody who we hear speak a lot because usually you hear Siren the Voodoo Doll speak for her. And usually, it's always her being the mouthpiece and stuff like that. But we got a spotlight on Holiday, watching her hang out in her cemetery, which is where she likes to have fun. And her voice felt like something from the underworld, and I was scared. I was just like, oh my God, girl, your voice. Whoa. And she was talking about how she likes to torture and bring death and destruction into the WoW ring and how she wants to continue to do that. And I was just like, okay, I support you, but please just don't stay away from me in the voice, yo. So it was scary, y'all. How are we feeling about Holiday and her spotlight moment?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I'm very familiar with Holiday and the darkness that exudes from Holiday. So I was so excited, a little nervous, even though I know of Holiday and have worked with her before, I still get a little nervous. She still has the dark side with her. But I loved having her that spotlight, and I want to see more of her on WoW. I'm ready for it. I want the darkness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But Katrina, how are you feeling about Holiday and her spotlight on this episode of WoW?
It was nice. Because there's some characters we don't hear too much from, and I feel like that group in general, we didn't hear much from. If it wasn't Siren, even Chainsaw kind of don't say too much, and so to have her kind of say, I mean, we kind of know what she brings to WoW. I mean, she's very clear on that, but I guess her kind of saying it on her own is a very different thing than like people are saying something and then they're kind of owning like, this is what it is, this is what I do, I'm okay doing this. And so it was, I mean, I've heard her voice before too, so I wasn't as thrown off by it necessarily, but it was, I felt like if you didn't know who Holiday was outside of WoW, this was a nice little thing to listen. She's about the creepy and the dark, and this is a nice thing kind of hearing it out, and maybe that even means she's bringing more of that in the upcoming weeks, because it's been a little bit since we've seen her in the ring, and so maybe it just means she's kind of putting a warning out there. This is what I'm going to be bringing, whoever is in her path, and so that could just very well just be a warning to the roster, and so I think it was cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too. I feel like between her and Chainsaw, the women of WoW really gonna have to keep their head on a swivel. Like between them two and Siren the Voodoo Doll, there's just a lot of creepiness and a lot of destruction headed their way. And they're just gonna have to really watch out for all of them collectively, because y'all see how they did Candy Crush. So I can only imagine, who they decide to torture next. But either way, I like this, segment simply because, Holiday, outside of being, a purveyor of darkness, she's also a Black woman. And I just love, seeing Black women having that spotlight put on them on WoW. So it's always really good to see that, and also see kinfolk, because, well, she's not related to me, but she's spent some time down here in Alabama, graduated from Alabama State, where a lot of my family members and my boyfriend, attended. So it's just really cool to see someone like her, get this sort of platform, creepy voice or not. So hey, here we are having a varied, collection of characters here. So I love it. I love it a lot. So moving forward, we had another tag team match with Coach Campanelli and Randi Rah Rah going up against Genesis and Ice Cold of Exile. Now, something interesting that happened on commentary during this match is the fact that they mentioned how Exodus wasn't coming out there with Genesis and Ice Cold. And I'm wondering what happened there. Like, is there some type of beef going on with Exile? Is Exile continuing to fall apart? It's just like 1 minute they lost Malia Hosaka. Now it's just like you you have Exodus falling by the wayside, and it's just like, bro, what is going on? Is Exile just losing its, bearings?
I don't know. It's interesting. This was like an kind of an interesting kind of tag team matchup. So like I had that thought too in the back of my head, Steph. Like, where's everyone else? Like, where are they? So I'm wondering if there's some like breaking up some factions here, some groups here.
It's just so sort of frustrating because when we first saw Exile, they came out and they seemed so dominant looking at first, and then excuse me, and then when you add in the experience that Malia Hosaka was able to give, like there was just like a little bit more of an extra oomph that they had. And it's like ever since they've been sort of switching members, there's just something lost about them that just doesn't, and it just doesn't feel, it doesn't hit the way that it used to hit, and it makes me kind of sad. But and it's just weird, I don't know. But either way, they had this tag team match against Coach and Randi, and Coach and Randi Rah Rah have basically, had it in their mind that they want to win these matches, whatever it takes. And of course, like Emily did mention, they did have their schoolyard brawl against the disciplinarian and Samantha Smart, which they did win in dominant fashion. So they want to keep the momentum going because they do want to, qualify again for those tag titles. So Ice Cold and Genesis really did have good tag team chemistry, even though there were a couple of moments there where they had a little bit of a tiff with each other. They were fussing at each other back and forth kind of aggressively. And here, as you can see in this picture, they also did a pretty good job of isolating Randi Rah Rah, in those vulnerable moments. But then there was one particular moment where Randi actually reversed Ice Cold's snapmare and then hit a drop kick afterward. And that really did impress me. It's just, I feel like this is where I said to myself while watching this, Randi and Coach really have been working extra, extra hard on their wrestling skills. Like they really have been going back to the drawing board and really improving more on their skills because it really is shown in this match. And as you can see right here, there's a hip toss from Coach given to Ice Cold right here. Like it was just lots of cool stuff going on in this match. And Coach and Randi wound up winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I was just really excited, to watch them be so dominant. But as you can see here, more of the cracks showing in Exile. They're fussing at each other outside the ring as Coach and Randi are in the ring celebrating. So it's a lot of crazy stuff going on.
You could see the cracks in the foundation here, Stephanie. You could see that things are not what it seems like. We look like we're having some internal strife here, and Coach Campanelli, Randi Rah Rah, like obviously showed some dominance, and we've seen them work together really, really well before. And I think that, they're going to continue to do so. And I liked seeing them get this win. Like you said, they were super dominant. We saw some moves in there that I think we haven't really seen them play with before. And I really like that. They kind of like went out of their comfort zone a little bit and used their strengths together and kind of tagged each other in and out at the right times to become the dominant winner of this match.
Yeah, it was absolutely impressive. Kat, how are you feeling about the trajectory of Coach and Randi Rah Rah in this match?
I think they're on a good trajectory. I mean, they were, champions for a little bit, and then it was the nonsense that happened with Miami Sweet Heat always seems to be at the end of nonsense when it came to those belts. And so I think this is more so because they kind of had to start back at the beginning. This is them just showcasing like, well, we'll get back there, we'll get back to where we need to be to have another shot at the titles. And so I do like, especially from like some months ago when Coach was kind of saying Randi needs to do this, that, and the third, that she was more the level-headed one and Randi was more like had to kind of get her focus. And you're kind of starting to really see that both of them are focused. Like even Randy's doing a lot more physically in matches than she was previously. A lot of times I felt like in the matches, Coach kind of carried the match in regards to making sure they got a win. And I feel like now we're kind of seeing Randi also making sure that it's kind of an even thing between the two of them. So like if I don't got it, you got it kind of vibes. And I appreciate that. as far as Exile, it's unfortunate. I feel like this is happening because they got rid of Malia. I feel like she was an OG. You know, she
Yeah.
wrestled for a long time. She has wisdom and experience, and they were starting to feel themselves a little bit, and they got rid of the thing that was holding them
I
together.
think
And
they're
now
getting
look,
too cocky. They're getting too like in their heads, like a little chip on their shoulder. So they're like, we don't need the OG member. We don't need all
and
your advice.
Yeah, I
and
feel
that
like
was supposed
essentially
to
that's what
be like the
happened.
thing with the group. Like they were supposed to be people that got overlooked. That was like the premise of Exile, like people who kind of overlooked them, that they didn't take them seriously. And so to have the group like that already, and then you get rid of one person who, like, you think of all the matches they've had, but how Malia in particular was really tough, you know, really kind of, if she needs to kind of get dirty a little bit, she did to get a win. And now it's like, well, she's gone, and y'all don't even know where you guys are at right now. And so I feel like it wasn't a smart move on their end. So you get rid of the thing that was clearly holding you guys together, because now look, like, you guys can't even get it yourselves together. And then you have to add Ice Cold to something. And she, who's just been floating around for all these months, just floating in and out of people's tags and stables. And it's like, all right, clearly before adding a member, you need to get it together with two of you guys that's left, and then maybe be more confident in adding a member. Because clearly, while there were times they were, you know, on sync, like when they kind of had Randi off, which I always think is a good, smart tag team move, is to have somebody away, kind of isolate them. I think that's smart. It clearly didn't do enough where they're now sitting here bickering like an old married couple. And so it's like, y'all need to get it together. I feel like y'all need to bring
They
Malia
need to
back into the
regroup.
fold,
Regroup.
bring her back in, let her put that back into place, and maybe you guys can be in a better space, because there's no reason why them being as dominant as they are, it should be losing matches like this. To me, it's like from the very introduction we had to them, super tough, super hard to beat. You know, like, you had to really think, like, and usually they won. And so to have it like falling apart is like, see what happens when you guys get two big free britches. Now look what's happening. And so I feel like it is good for Randi and Coach that they're doing well, but it's also definitely saying, like, Exile, you got to do something, you got to change it up, you got to get it together, because clearly it's not working.
Yeah, it's absolutely unfortunate, seeing them sort of fall from grace like this. So maybe at some point, Malia Hosaka will actually come back to him and say, hey, you see how it's going now that I'm not with you guys? Or maybe they'll actually, go and get her back. Just to get them to focus. And maybe Ice Cold here again will figure out what her identity is, outside of, a group. Because it's like, as long as we've seen her, it was like we've barely seen her in singles competition. It's like we've only ever seen her with a group or with a tag team. And honestly, her in Exile doesn't necessarily fit their aesthetic. So honestly, I want Ice Cold to just sort of, you take some time to herself and just figure out what it is she wants to do and who she wants to be, and not having to fall in line with a group that's already established. And honestly, if Exile wants to get back, to their former glory, they really need to figure out their stuff, make peace with each other, and possibly get Malia Hosaka back so they can get back to their dominance. But in terms of Coach and Randi Rah Rah, they really are on the right track to get back, to those tag titles. And of course, if they want to add an extra member, like they did mention behind the scenes, they can also do that as well. So, hey, you just never know what's going to happen with them. They're always surprising. They're probably one of the best delights of the show, because you really just never know what you're going to get when it comes to Coach Campanelli and Randi Rah Rah. But also in terms of their athleticism, they definitely have gotten way better, and they are evolving, more and more each week. So big ups to them for winning this match. So they also announced that next week we're supposed to be hearing from the Mother Truckers, and I'm really excited to see, what happened with them and if they were able to get out of jail. And see how they're going to pay back Sophia Lopez, the greatest attorney in the world, for getting them out of jail. That is, if she did get them out of jail. I'm really interested in that. And they did announce that the Tonga twins are supposed to be in action, but I can't exactly remember who they're going to fight at this moment. But I'm pretty sure they'll post about it and talk about it later on in the week. So they did also show a segment with some charity work that the WoW women have been doing, and they showed the fabulous Lana Star. As much as the Fab Four and I have beef or whatever, I have to give credit where credit is due. They showed the fabulous Lana Star, being a part of a charity that means a lot to her, and this had to do with saving pets. and puppies and stuff. Like she loves dogs. So a part of her charity work is that she likes to do is always working with puppies. And I thought that was really cool and really sweet because dogs are like my favorite now. Like I love dogs so much. So to see her actually, having fun with her pet who we actually have seen, on camera a few times before, and also working with other pets as well was just really heartwarming. And then we also saw more charity work from Jungle Girl, who of course, has her own organization. And I believe I can pull it up, like, because I did, retweet and talk about it as they were talking about it on TV. Oh my gosh. What's the name of it? What's the name of it? What's the name of it? Now I can't find it. Okay, I'm mad. Either way, she has a charity which basically stands up for the health and fitness of those who suffer from cancer. Because, of course, she is a cancer survivor. She had stage 4 breast cancer and she did survive that. So, as she's learning to live with it, she's helping others live with it as well. And I thought it was really beautiful to see, all of the women of wrestling, including her, working with these people, fighting these debilitating illnesses, and still encouraging people to live a full life, regardless of what it is that they're going through. So that was a really nice touch to this episode. So, Katrina, how did you feel about watching, the fabulous Lana Star with the puppies and watching Jungle Girl with her fellow cancer survivors?
I think it's nice to have charity work. I mean, who doesn't like dogs?
Was
I
it
feel like
Wags and it was Wags and Walks, right, Steph? Was that it?
I believe so. I believe that's what it was. Maybe it was Wags and Walks, and I'm just not remembering the name right now. But it was really sweet. But yeah.
but who doesn't like dogs? Who don't like the cuddles and all the cool things that dogs do? And so I thought that was really sweet. But in particular with the cancer situation, just because that's always hits really close to home for me. And so anytime I see anybody always do it, I'm just like, oh, that's always really sweet. It's always nice to kind of you see like how things can change so quickly in an instant with those type of situations. And so it's good to, like, even though I know you said the Fab Four, you're like, you got the beef with the Fab Four, but it's also like shows that while they can be bougie, they can also do what needs to be done and do like a nice things. So that was really nice to see and show that even though these women are superheroes and they're entertaining, that they also care about other things and other causes. And so I thought that was a really nice touch and kind of just gave us even more insight to what they do and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. Like, obviously, I know you have you have your beef with Lana Star and the whole Fab Four team, but I think, again, any organization that is out there and can give back is always wonderful. And everyone has their own internal battles and their fights, and sometimes it's cancer, sometimes it's mental health, and everyone has their own story. And so it's great that these women can showcase their stories and show that they're overcoming great obstacles and just have these amazing journeys, because there are inspirations and there are people watching. So I think it's a great addition, and I like how we got to see a little bit of that this episode.
Yeah, it was really great. I'll sit my beef to the side, and like I said, give credit where credit is due. Like, it was very heartwarming to see Lana Star, with her dog and stuff like that. So it was just really amazing. And I really love that part of the program. And hopefully we'll see more of that, in the coming episodes. But it is nice to see, these women working with the community and just helping to uplift the world, outside of the ring too. So that was really, really nice. A+ part of the episode. A+. I mean, the whole show is A+, but definitely A+ in my heart of hearts for that. So after that, we go into our main event. Which is, of course, speaking of the Fab Four, between the Miami Sweet Heat versus Team Generation Texas and Jennifer Florez, aka J Flo, versus Stephy Slays. And of course, this match was pretty good, for the most part. You had Miami Sweet Heat and their tag team chemistry on display because, they're twin sisters. But then you also had Jennifer Florez and Steffi Slays, and just seeing how they operate as a tag team too. But, since the Fab Four always has to come out, in droves, Miss Lana Star was out there with them. But ironically, for her to be out there, she really didn't interfere that much for a change. And like I said, I give credit where credit is due. She didn't, get into the match like that. She just let Miami Sweet Heat do their thing. And this match was really good. Jennifer Florez, actually Steffi Slays wound up starting off in the match against one of the twins. And she started off and started coming in hot, but then of course, you had the chemistry of the twins, sort of beating up on her and ground and pound on them and tagging in and tagging out and isolating Steffi. But any moment that Steffi got to sort of bounce back and tag in Jennifer was definitely a really great difference maker in this match, using her quickness and her speed in order to move throughout the match and try to just get the upper hand on the twins. But the twins weren't having it.
Nope.
And they really weren't having it at all. And they actually, did a pretty bad job on these women. And it was just like, God dang it. Like, as much as we love the Tonga twins and wanted them to have a chance, if Steffi and Jennifer had beat them for the titles, I would have been pretty okay with that too. Because we hadn't really seen Steffi hold any gold. And they did mention that on commentary. The fact that Steffi is a WoW OG who has never won any titles. And I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But yeah, go ahead, Emily.
It really gets you, like, when you think about, like, I liked this pairing because, like they said on commentary, Steffi Slays is an OG member, been through this whole process before, multiple seasons. And then you have, you have Jennifer Florez, who's newer to WoW. And so you kind of have both kind of generations coming together, right? And so they make a really good tag team. Like you said, they balance each other out. Jennifer Florez comes in with that fast quickness, those big kicks, those kind of, very fast. And they balance each other out. But the twins were just thinking a little bit smarter, working a little bit harder. And they they understand, again, two-time champions. They understand what it means to hold those titles. And so I feel like they, unfortunately, Steffi Slays and Jennifer Florez had a uphill battle with this one.
Yeah, and to basically top it all off, as they were fighting, I believe Steffi Slays tagged in Jennifer Florez, and Jennifer was fighting and making a good go of it. But as Steffi was gathering herself in the corner, I believe it was Lindsay who actually jumped over and knocked down Steffi Slays as she was recovering in the corner, and then they hit what they call the heat wave onto Jennifer Florez, which looked kind of no, it really didn't. I'm sorry. Basically they hit the heat wave onto Jennifer and wound up winning the match fair and square. So still your WoW tag team champions are the Miami Sweet Heat, aka the Carlson Twins. So Katrina, how did you feel about this match and the dominance of the Carlson Twins?
I just think, again, this is like I said about the Tonga twins. I think there's just a vibe between sisters. It's one thing to be a sister, it's a whole different thing to be a twin sister, and I feel like that's what this was. Like, they want to hold on to the belts, and while I do think that Jen and Steffi work well together, sometimes their chemistry isn't always on point as it necessarily is with Miami Sweet Heat. And I think that was wind up being their downfall in this matchup. They tried. And they tried hard, but in this, I just like the better team, and again, Lana didn't even have to come in. Nobody had to come in, and this is one of the few matches of theirs, there was a clean win. It was no, like,
surprising
interference. It was nothing. And so that speaks on this, that I feel like they probably even felt they already had this match in the bag, because I feel like there's been times they have all said at different points, like, they have contingency plans. Lana has said this multiple times. They feel like it might be to make sure we keep the belts, there's a plan in place. I don't even think they had one this time, and that I don't know if that speaks to how they viewed Steffi and Jen, if they viewed them even like competition enough that they even had to have a plan. But it just seemed like Lana was just there to be supportive. It didn't give me the vibes that she was like, well, if they look like they're winning, let me put in my plan A or plan B or whatever. And I didn't get that vibe. And so I just think in this regard, even though they do work well together, the twins just had a different edge, Again, they are a champion, and while they have been cheating champions, and we all aware of this, in this regard, I felt like they didn't have to do any of that. They just out wrestled them, and so it's unfortunate. And like I said, I did feel away about the Tonga Twins because there was some shenanigans in that matchup. But in this regard, I feel like because there was no shenanigans, it was a clean win. Lana was just there. I don't even think they even saw Jen and Steffi as much of a challenge. They just, here's the match and we'll do what we need to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that says, like, do they need to change their game plan as far as Steffi and Jen? And so, but otherwise, I thought it was a good match. And I think it kind of showed, at least us, knowing sometimes they do cheat, that they could obviously win a match without cheating.
Yeah, I mean, I think they, in their interview that we just had, they talked about how, like, the Carlson Twins talked about how they don't feel like there was another tag team in WoW that could take them out. They didn't think that these two women would do that. So Steph, your face. So it's one of those things, is like, they came in, Katrina, with that confidence. They were like, no. So I don't think they think anyone is a threat right now. And sometimes that confidence shines in the ring. And it obviously did in this episode. Lana Star, as you said, did not interfere, which shows that maybe they're mixing up their strategy a little bit and they wanted to win clean so that hopefully they can maintain this championship.
Is it confidence or is it arrogance?
I don't know. Semantics.
No, because it sounds like arrogance. Because it's just like, how you gonna say there's nobody that can beat you when the one team that really could have beat you, you had to resort to shenanigans in order to beat them? No. I understand, Emily, you're just a messenger. But then at the same time, they did try to recruit you. So you know what?
Who knows? More shenanigans. Maybe I'll be a part of the shenanigans.
Maybe so. Maybe you might. But either way, I'm about to say what I'm gonna say. It's just like, y'all had to cheat to beat the dominant team that really could have beat y'all. So I'm sitting here like, bro, like, I really want the Tonga Twins to actually have a fair shake of things. They deserve a rematch. A rematch, which needs to be either in a steel cage or a consequence needs to be laid out for the Fab Four. If either one of the Fab Four members interfere, they get either suspended or blocked off from something or can't get another opportunity at something or whatever. Like, I just need consequences. I need consequences in place for these women to have a fair shot. Because you know how arrogant you have to be to say that there is no other person that can beat them when the deck is stacked in your favor? That's arrogant. That's ridiculous. It will not stand.
It's obviously, if it is arrogance, it's working.
No, arrogance can only take you so far. Arrogance is a balloon because it can be popped.
A debate for another day, Stephanie.
Yes, it is. Well, that's the end of our show today. That's the end of the WoW Superheroes After Show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, please check out the interview that Emily May did do with Miami Sweetie on our channel on Women's Wrestling Talk on www.toppod.com.
Obviously, it's getting some heat from Stephanie, so...
Yes. So if it's getting heat from me, then I'm more than sure it'll get heat from y'all. So please watch it and check it out. I'm definitely sure that Emily May did a fantastic job on the interview. So please check it out on our YouTube channel and on our website at www.talkpod.com. And of course, check out our older interviews of the WoW Superheroes that we have all collectively done over the last few months. Please check those out and all of our other interviews as well, guys, because we do a really good job. So ladies, starting with Katrina, tell everybody, where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
I am on most social media and Cat Trust, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter to use 3. I do have a new interview coming out tomorrow with wrestler Journey Burke, who's a lawyer turned wrestler, which I loved that concept. And so super fun interview. So that will be live. I am dropping a couple of movie reviews because I've watched quite a few. Just been a little bit busy to kind of upload them. Those are also coming on the channel. And in pretty recently, at the end of June, I will be at Florida SuperCon doing my panel Behind the Magic of Color and Wrestling. I'm going to have some awesome people on there. One of our hosts, Astrid, will be on there as well. Samira, a former host, will be on there, as well as Sahara7, who is a fantastic wrestler and friend to the show. And so we will be in Florida on June 30th. It should be super awesome. And then I am having a couple of debuts and different promotions in July, and I'm excited about that. And so if you are in the Jersey area, I will be there at Titan Championship versus Goddesses of War and VPW. And so those will be in July. And so that's what's happening on my end.
Awesome sauce. What about you, Emily?
All right, everyone, you can follow me on all social platforms, Emily May Heller, and just see what I'm up to in the next few weeks and some of the shows and some of the content I'm putting out there. And yeah, that's where I post everything. So, yay.
Awesome. And know you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy, and listen to my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, everywhere you get your audio shows, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, for all of the episodes, live interviews, and so many different things that I've had cooking over the past few years. You can catch it on that channel. But most importantly, follow WOW. First of all, go on their website if you want to watch the show on wowe.com and figure out what listing it's on if you want to catch the show and watch it, yourself, because it's a really amazing show. So please check it out, whenever you can on whatever television listing you have all over the country. Please watch it and support all women's wrestling in all forms. But definitely support Women's Wrestling Talk on Instagram and Twitter at WWTalkPod. Go on our website at www.talkpod.com and check out all of our articles, our news updates, all of our pictures, and all of our merchandise, everything. Please check it out. And also continue to support us and all of our amazing after shows that we did mention earlier in the show. And just continue to support the vibe, because we are keeping the vibes going here when it comes to women's wrestling and all of wrestling as a whole. And also celebrating Pride Month as well, because we have to celebrate those of the LGBTQIA+ community and show love to them and support them throughout the year, all the time, but definitely during this month, celebrate them and find ways in which you can advocate for them and help them and, help them get laws passed, call your representatives, bug them, on behalf of your friends, do stuff like that. That's amazing. So yeah, it's just really cool stuff. So I'm going to let you guys go because it is 7:00 and Raw is on. So until next time, this is Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And until next time, bye y'all.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.